Okay.
Yes, continue.
You were talking about your defense, the different responses that you had, the fight, and freeze response, and I think that's where we cut off. So if you want to pick back up from there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just sum it up again. Fight, flight, freeze. My fight comes in when well, first I'll say to be able to move through for me to even realize I had these things going on, I had to be present with them. Be present with them, meaning I had to literally be the witnesser of what was happening, even if it felt horrible. I even cried after some of the situations, but I was present with it. And when you become present with it, you become aware with it, then you can start to work with it and change it. So my fight is whenever I feel really defensive and I want to be right. That's when the fight in me comes out. I fight to get my point across. You can just tell I'm very defensive with my words and how I'm forcefully saying things. My flight comes in with relationships. If I feel like my peace is disturbed, my peace is never disturbed. If the reality is always giving you what you need.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Thinks that her peace is disturbed, she will flight. And then my freeze comes in at work when things are unexpected. My defense mechanism is I like to always kind of be prepared. I like to be prepared for just knowledge and everything. So whenever something comes at me unexpected, knowledge wise, that's when I freeze. And the freeze is literally a body shutdown. Like I can't even answer. So yeah.
I didn't put freeze in it because I wanted us to talk about it here. Like, I wanted us to get there and see if we got there, because one of the main reasons why we're here is freeze. I am struggling with my freeze. I like those other parts. I've learned techniques. Like these things that help me, but freeze is not a big new challenge that I'm experiencing, which to me is like ridiculous to me. At the same time,
show up for you. How does it show up for you?
Sweating, like just constantly sweating. I can literally hear every beat of my heart. Even when I'm trying, I've read about it. I'm researching about it. Even when I've read about trying to combat the breathing aspect of it, even that breathing part, I can feel my lack of control in it when it's happening. And one of the things that we talked about going through something, right, is I learned that like that aspect I have always kind of like be like, we're not doing that. I've kind of always done it that way. And my mind, the way my mind works now is like we said, getting through things. Like I don't want things that keep happening and I don't know why. Those things, like So I had to address it where it's like, number one, why do you just dismiss it like this isn't happening? Like listening to music and then thinking that is not helping. Like what is happening? But also, why can't you take control in this moment, even with knowledge? And I think for me,
not to cut you off, but that right there is what is making it worse. That's what we do a lot of the times. And you are saying something. I'm about to make you feel so much probably better about, hopefully, because what it is, the fear of public speaking in general is worse than death for humans. And this helped me so much. Everything always comes together. This lady, her name is Arlen Hamilton or something like that. I don't know. She's like a billionaire black lady. And she had a really like just weird life, challenging life. But at 35, she figured out kind of like her calling. And this lady's in San Francisco now, with the venture capital, whatnot. But even the amount of money she makes and the intelligence she has, she can't speak in front of people. Her heart starts to beat really fast to this day. And this lady is a billionaire at this point. And she prescribed beta blockers to help her. Like literally, she had to get prescribed medication to help like calm her down. Like. So point is, this is something that is deeply wired in the conditioning of humans. Like even when every Friday, like I have to give like a work presentation, like literally this past Friday. And I know these people at this point, and I still to this day will get so nervous. I can witness myself getting nervous. It's terrible, but I literally have ADHD medication that I literally had to start taking on Fridays specifically. Like I don't have to take any day of the week, but Fridays specifically, when I know I have that presentation, I have to take it, and it does work. It could be placebo and me combined, like the medication, but it does work to calm me down. And I'm saying that to say, medication had to be implemented to a billionaire and for. So this is not something you ain't broken. This is something that is deeply wired into humans. That's
deeply
hard.
wired. That was one thing in the research that I was doing, right? To understand, like, number one, I won't even go to the name I was labeling it before I got to freeze. But when I started to read on freeze and see that it matches up with everything, I also had to look at myself and like, okay, my body, your body doesn't know what's going on. Your brain lets it know what's going on. So it doing all of this is doing what it thinks it should do. So I have to think that of understanding that I think you're overthinking it. I think
you did what I'm saying. You detach from the I. That's not that's not me. That is the conditioning of a body, and that's what a body does when it's scared.
And then I started to tell myself, okay, maybe the big lesson here, apart from what I'm facing right now, is I need to get a better relation, like being able to talk to my body better. We need to converse better. We can converse in other ways greatly, but in this space, in these moments, when I feel this anxiety, I gotta make you my friend, bro, because we have been fighting. And
that's good, though. That's good. Yes, that is
how I funk myself in it now, and that's what I'm trying to develop each time. Of like just understanding that, like, yo, I'm trying to be friends with you. I'm not like and it goes back to about flight or the responses and defense mechanisms. It's what helped in the past settings. It's how and it's also those emotions you felt in those past settings that your body just because you thought of it, now your body thinks it's happening, but it's not happening. So how do you,
when you're not in the present, images, past, present, past, future, images. Your body can't tell images from reality, your mind, so that is the importance of literally now the new stage of humanity right now the post-COVID humans right now, we have to literally learn to survive is to literally move and stay in presence as much as possible, because the focusing on the images it ain't going to get us far. That's it.
Yeah. And I think this is something that's not simple, right? Because I don't know whoever's logged into like that faces overthinking and faces those modes. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you too, like your techniques, right? Because sometimes you don't realize that for me, how I had to do with this was, I was like, oh no, I'm thinking about this thing. I'm trying to breathe. I'm doing my techniques. No, you're overcompensating in a way. Like your body, your ease, not your aggression all the time. So it's like, that's one thing I'm learning about overthinking, because before I used to think overthinking, it was just like, just calm down. And no, it's literally, you got to get it to a sensation level to understand that, like, okay, yeah, I'm good. This, like you said, what's happening right now is supposed to happen. I'm fine. I am fine. How do you gauge and handle moments of overthinking?
So, okay. I'll just say, instead of saying presence, my main physically how I do that is I'm focusing on the breath, literally.
Right here. That was my. You are great. Go ahead.
You know why? Because the breath is all there is. That what is constantly going that you or you can focus on your heartbeat, but that's hard to do. But the breath is something that is tangible that you can focus on, that can ground you at all times. So even with moments of it's very hard to do it in the public speaking moments and when that freeze response is happening. But if you that's what, for me, it took like medication, like literally until my conditioning learns to calm down. But if if you don't have any of those things, the best thing you can do is to literally focus on your breath. Like that is something like in and out your nose, not mouth breathing, just.
I have a question.
Yes.
By the way, that is a great technique. But when you said that thing, because I try to dive into different types of, you don't believe that mouth breathing of inhaling, of, you don't believe the mouth expel is good as well?
I think do whatever works, to be honest. But learning from yoga and everything like that, they say like we're supposed to babies breathe from their bellies, their nose and their bellies. We're supposed to be breathing nose in and out of our nose, and you can exhale out of your mouth, but you're supposed to. The mouth is for food and talking and those things. The breath is the nose. And you can do it distinctly. You can do it without having to make a big scene. I think sometimes maybe breathing in and out of your mouth and trying to calm yourself down may kind of work you up a bit, whereas breathing in and out of the nose, it's calming. It's more calm because it's natural. I feel like that is the reason why. But yeah, the breath is the ground.
Breath is one of the most important things, and for me, my journey to get to the breath was to me random. I used to just hear it in mad like music that I liked.
Everything.
Like people tell you to focus on the breath, make sure you're paying attention to your breath. I would hear it in so many, just music, and I'm like, okay, there got to be something about this. And that's how I got into the journey of like, you know what, let me figure out this breath thing. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. And I do think it's a beautiful starting point as well. Because for me, when I started it, I would probably say I was just really in a funky place with just myself. And it kind of made me really, like, see me, like, be able to feel me, all of that, like all the things that like wasn't happening in that moment, the breath kind of gave that all back to me. So I think that's super important. And this is in fight or flight. I'm just gonna say with my accents, it's easier. Fight or flight response. When you understand the protection part of it.
Yes.
Comes real quick, right? I want to talk about like what you said about your fight part is the defensive part, right? I'm a very defensive person. I learned that. I learned that through strangers, also that through people that I care about, and understanding that like sometimes you think this is the right measure, but it's actually just you're just being defensive. So number one, I think it's witnessing it and understanding it. For me, it was a argument with my best friend that made me kind of like get to a point where I was like, oh shit, I thought I was right.
Yeah.
But no. Number one, number two, the thought, maybe you didn't have to go that realm. So I guess my question is in the defense mechanisms, but also specifically defensiveness that we use, right? Against others and ourselves. What is that? What are those thoughts for you? But also, how do you like basically check yourself? Like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. How do I check okay, so when the defense mechanisms rise, me just wanting to be right. Just me just wanting to be right is really how it shows up. How do I check myself? If I'm going crazy, it rarely happens. I'm just not confrontational by nature. If I get crazy, which I probably have, then I'll apologize. I have apologized, so I'll send like an apology text. I will do that. But other than that, I'll just I'll leave it alone and just kind of sit with it myself after. Because a lot of it's. I've always, like I said, this always kind of been my personality. I've always kind of been into like psychology and all this type of stuff, I think since birth. And right, literally. But I also have also been very like aware kind of like I've always been like the witnesser. I've always kind of known that there was a witnesser going on. I just didn't know the right words to put to. Yeah. I'm not just this. I've always been able to kind of watch myself. So point is, I kind of knew when I knew when I was being defensive in a sense. So even if when it would end, I would kind of sit with myself like, oh. So now this fired you up. Like this is now fired you up. Why do you get fired up? And I've learned that's what's been happening over this past year. The real self-understanding part of what makes me so fired up and what makes me so different. What makes me do the things that Kelly does, and really.
If you don't mind sharing, like what were some things that you figured out in those moments for yourself?
Yeah, that's it. So really, and this is recently. It's probably just the main things that humans go through, but probably just more so extreme for me. A deep fear of failure, fear of failure, and wanting to do it right. Perfectionism that was huge for me, and just fear of failure, fear of needing to get it right, fear of disappointing, fear of all of his fear of being seen as the other, not being, and that's what I had to move. Now that I'm becoming this and spoken about this type of radical stuff on my Instagram and whatnot, that's the biggest thing I had to move through is radical acceptance of myself, like radical radical, like this is, no matter how quirky you come up with the stuff you're saying, this is who you are, this is who you have been. And if anything, your flaws and the meanness or the isolation that I have sometimes, or the coldness, me not authentically being like this. If I walked around and was able to talk like this all the time and say these things of no I and all of this type of stuff, I would be very inviting and whatnot. So it's me now moving into this space of radically accepting this is your personality, and this has always been your personality. And the flaws. Yeah. What'd you say?
Accept that part about yourself, man.
Yeah. And that's what that is now. Is moving into this space. And just let the isolation and the coldness. I don't know though, because I was in the isolation, and because I am really isolated and I'm really reserved. But it really comes from, and this is, I kind of study astrology. Like even if you believe in it or not, with the stuff that astrology says, it's just good to kind of understand. The type of, for me to understand this type of stuff, it takes a lot of alone time. This don't come from, I don't know how other people would do it, like talk, like being in relationships all the time and being around groups all the time. This type of understanding about life and how the universe works and what we are and what is an I, it takes me being alone with myself for days on end. And making sense and listening to YouTube videos and listening to books to understand it. So I don't think that part of me will ever fall away. I think I'm a natural introvert. But I'm learning how to bring this to the group now. Now I'm learning this information, bring it to the group, just like how you are, and not kind of shy away. Yeah. And
I just want to also, in everything you said, I love how you've already made something you've learned about yourself power. Like, this is something that I need. So, because when you said radical acceptance, that I love that. I love that word.
I'm just now fully learning that word too, because I'm like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm learning how to radically accept all this quirky shit that I'm doing. This is people are quirky. Humans are quirky. That's the problem. We're not sharing that.
And I sometimes think like, bro, do you know how much times you drop shit in a day? Like the quirkiness of it all, like and I think that is the struggle.
Yeah,
I think that is the prevailing factor of when you want to move forward, right? But then it's like, I used to think this thing, I want to move forward, I have this great thoughts, this is what I want to do. But then it's like, so you're going to not only go with the good, you got to go with the bad parts too, right? And now you're like, now you're judging yourself, you're doing all of these things. And I think radical acceptance is so important, because once you can understand the paradoxical aspect of life, it makes things float with more ease. I'm not saying you should be a freaking asshole or you should just be and I say firmly, I don't like people who say that's just how I am. I don't like, because that leaves no room Yeah, no room for growth. So it's like once you like radical acceptance is kind of saying that to yourself as a challenge to be like, so how are we gonna like move it different? Because I always do this thing. 10 years from now, I am nowhere near trying to be this guy right now. 10 years from now, and that doesn't mean I want to. I love my heart. I love this person, but I want this person to grow. And I think radical, and that's coming from understanding, and that's the struggle, right? Not staying in the shame and the guilt of the things you figure out, but like you did, using some of the things you figure out as power and being like, yo, this actually, it shapes you. This actually allows me to be more productive. This aspect of me actually diminishes the greatness of what I feel good about. So let me cut that out. You start to, you're your own boss. You're the CEO. You start to look at shit and be like, don't need that, need to put that in position. And I think in the emotional aspect of talking about fight or flights, in the emotional, I can't say it like that. In the emotional aspect, talking about that is something that I've learned in my spirituality and just in psychology as well. Is you gotta understand, you are the manager. You are the CEO and the manager. You make all the decisions, but you also put people in. So it's like that responsibility is not scary. In a way, like we talked about, the other side of anxiety is beautiful. But I'm not going to use the word beautiful because we all have our own experience. For me to even come to beautiful it took a very while to beautiful. I thought it was good, then it got, so I'm not trying to...
You're moving into radical acceptance of the self, of or what is going on with yourself. Like, okay, there is this great side, there is this anxious side, there's this other side of the anxious side, and just like kind of being vulnerable and honest about that. And that's what it's about. What I'm learning, and that's my whole thing, is what I'm just trying to do is, as I learn these things that heal myself up, like I had a terrible sugar addiction, and I had to these little like sugar strips at Target that you put on your before you have a craving, and it blocks the taste of sugar. See, even stuff like that. Somebody listening right now with a sugar addiction, and they just
I didn't know this.
Yes, it's a whole, like, just these little things. I do, like I said, hot yoga, and my legs get really sore, so I found this place that I do compression therapy on my legs, and I feel like I have like I've been doing this whole spirituality, non-duality thing, and that has been the game. Because, like I said, for me, I've been to retreats and everything you could think of. And she's like, what? I've been to everything you could think of. And I needed to find something that was very low pressure and easy. And that's when I found non-duality and learning, like, there's no you. There's just your conditioning operating here. And this is all awareness. This is all God. Ishmael is God. Kelly is God. Everything is all just one big form of God happening. And you're the vessel operating. You're just the vessel operating here. And it's wired in this weird, fun way.
And yes. One thing, and I want to stay there. Like, it's your awareness. This is one thing I'm learning. I battle it too. I'm still trying. Like, I just spoke to my mother like an hour before we got on this call, right? She's doing the whole, my parents live in Nigeria, so she's doing the whole call, the how are yous, everyone's great, got it, like all of the greatness. And like, my mom doesn't do this often, but she sprinkled the whole, when am I going to meet like my future daughter-in-law and all of that? Like, the jokes that the parents give and all of that. And in my mind, I'm like, I've always struggled with that conversation because it's like, y'all need to chill. But you got to kind of just be aware in that moment, but also understand, I wanted to bring in vulnerability, that when you allow yourself to actually be aware and vulnerable in that moment, like with her, I told her, I'm trying. That's what I told her. But before, it used to be a resistance, a fight, thinking like, you don't even know, like all these thoughts that get there. But it's like, I was like, I've actually had to analyze it. Like, my mother loves me more than anybody. Like, obviously she wants me to get married. Or her daughter is married. Like, she loves...
what she's conditioned to do.
Mothers do. What mothers do. So why am I just letting this, like, speak to her about it. I never had that before. When I was,
Yeah.
and I just started, I'm trying. And I think vulnerability is a very big part when we talk about fights or flights, when we talk about how do we protect ourselves, when we talk about all these things in the present moment. It is, where is your vulnerability gauge? Because if your vulnerability gauge is that I ain't trying to be vulnerable, but I'm trying to be great, it's not.
What will happen, and that's the part of society that's failing now. What will happen is you will be great. You probably will be a millionaire. You can have all of those things, but you won't have peace and joy. And there's a whole other side. Once I slowed down my drinking and just all of the addictive tendencies that I had and started learning this part of myself, there's a such thing as a radical living in continuous rapture with life. There's joy is like when you are completely at peace, and that's when you know present moment and not wanting outside of this. That is a peace that nothing can touch. Like no type. It's fun to be high and whatnot, and it seems like who doesn't want to be high and stuff like that's boring. No, real peace and joy is like, because it's effort. Life is, what I'm discovering, life is effortless. There is nothing to do. Everything that you need to do is being provided for you already. There's nothing to do. Life is very effortless. We create the stigma around this. It's very. So I think jobs.
Create your own problems. Understand? My mom always said that growing up, you create your problems.
Yeah, like, every human.
I've learned that as an adult. In some instances, you create your problem.
But do you understand that it's so? There's literally like nothing to do. Like literally, like that's how easy it is. Like it's right now. It's literally just Kelly talking to phone. When this is over, the next thing I do is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Like whatever you're doing, it's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. There isn't separation. There isn't you're going to the bathroom, but you really should be saving a video or something like that. And that's but we get caught up in the shoulds. But life is so simple that whatever you're doing in this moment is exactly what you're supposed to be doing because it's working for the whole system. That even that little thing that you're doing is somehow working in the greater intelligence of the whole system at play here.
Yeah.
And when you die, like whatever, when you look back at your life, when you die, that's when you'll see how all of the pieces connect.
How played into the whole system.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, those are bars you just said. Because that is a way to be very hopeful about this. Not about the end, but to understand you play a role. You play a role.
You literally how it's. I can best explain it. I think people resonate with this, especially for religious. You are God, having a perspective. You are just a different perspective of God.
Yes.
And perspectives are needed.
He made me with his. If he made you, you have his perspective. That means you can do things. There are things that only you can do, and that's the part.
That's it. That's what it is. It's not even whatever. If that resonates with you, because I don't even look at it as like you were made. You are that. You are the creator. You made yourself. You are the creator. You are God. Like awareness is God, in my understanding of it. And that's you are the creator of your life. This is God trying to create, trying to learn through your perspective of this person right here. Yeah. That's what it's understanding. That's what's going on, and that's why you can't do it wrong. Even if you live Putin, whoever is doing crazy shit right now, that is somebody that is very just caught in the illusion of the self, and not aware. You know what I'm saying? And not aware of this thing. Yeah.
I mean, if we take it to the religious, and Paul exists in the Bible, like he built the church, but before God spoke to Paul, he was a Christian murderer. His thing he did every day was go out and kill Christians. So it's like whatever you think you've done, or that you think God doesn't have that plan for you, or can use you, or can be, or is willing to be involved with you in all things that you do, then I feel like that perspective is like I try to tell people I've understood that, right? Because I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God, all these things, but I know in my spirituality now, in the work I do, that He wants to be a part of your life. Like God
Mhm.
wants to be a part of your life. He wants goodness for you. Like you're saying, there is nothing until you create it. You are the creator. He has stamped that on you when you pulled up. There are just things that you can do that other people can't do. The thing about where society has messed up the perspective of understanding purpose can be what you do in the proximity, in the large scale, in whatever scale, is that they're telling you that it doesn't matter unless everybody sees it. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. People, I think that's the thing. Your purpose is what you're doing right now. I say this all the time. My purpose right now is to be sitting here talking on phone. There's a difference, and that's it. That's your purpose. There's a difference between that and living in purpose. So even when you live in purpose, so right now, but Ashley actually wrote that thing. She didn't write all of this out, but her saying like living in purpose. She said those words. That kind of perspective of like, gave me a new perspective of like, oh, this is what like living in purpose is. You don't become that, but what it is that's like the spiritual awakening side of things. Once you go through life with completely identified with the I and the ego and separation, you are on this other side of the spiritual awakening, the egoistic, three-dimensional human version of yourself that's separated and not even in touch with the interconnectedness of it all. Once you go through something, usually it's something painful, divorce, cancer, anxiety.
For me, because I got stripped of things. Yeah,
that's usually what happens. That's same. It's something similar happened with me. That's something in need, and that is once again that is the awareness working to get you now to the other side, to break you of that egoic self, to break you and get to the other side to now live in purpose to the whole. Do something, share your story, live in purpose, live. Once you get to the other side, you kind of share, and now you're living literally in purpose to the whole. You're always living in purpose. You become aware of it. You become aware of it, and you become more intentional of it. That's what Steve said.
Word, right? Intentional,
right?
And all of this, and I don't want us to get away from the topic. These are the things that help those moments, those seasons, those emotions. Like you said, intention. I have so many things about intention. It was like, where do I start? But it is a powerful force. The way you can manifest intention, Kelly, and the way I can manifest it, totally different. But the power is there. And it has that. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's this. I'm happy you said that. I'm so happy. Literally, we could probably wrap it up on this. This is like a grand finale with this one. Everybody, there is no. I don't have any more wisdom than you have. You, me, the homeless man on the street, we all have the same value and wisdom. The way we're showing up in the Earth School, that's what this is, the big school of lessons. Yeah. The way we're showing up is different, and we're all at different stages. But I think I got this from Byron Katie's book. She said the murderer is a better teacher for you and your kids to show you what not to do than somebody that's not murdering somebody. The murderer actually has a lot of wisdom. They're doing that, and they're showing you exactly what you don't need to do.
I get it.
So that's what I said. Like everybody, and how crazy the world is showing up is all still existing exactly how it's supposed to be existing in perfection. That's all that's going on. And you'll start to realize that that's what's happening to me. And it's very freaking trippy right now what's happening. As you change, the world changes. Like, as I'm growing, it's scary what's happening. Like, I kid you not, like the podcast episodes I'm listening to every day, even Eckhart Tolle, last year listening to him, he was talking about the present moment. Now he's talking about spiritual awakenings and the stuff that I'm talking about. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what? My friends are texting me now the thing about. Go ahead.
When you seek things, the world changes. And I love that I'm a big on, you have your word, I have my word.
And guess what? What's happening? We all live in individual realities. World is whatever you see about everybody and everything is what you believe it to be, and due to your conditioning and how you grew up. So as change, your beliefs about the things that you're seeing about the world will change with you, and that's all constructed to what you need in your reality. And the same thing is happening for Kelly. The same thing is happening for Ashley. The same thing is happening for Spike. We all live in these individual realities. I don't know.
Realities and understanding what works for your world, right? Even in the mental health, mental wellness, and speaking to people and encouraging and telling them techniques and all of those things, right? One thing, I'm still a dude that I'm figuring this out. Like you said, the ish from college to be the ish doing this, you know? It's like whatever, when it comes up and you're evolving and you're seeking and everything, you're going to have to, number one, be present in that moment and really take on what's going on, but also understand that, like, you're changing. Yeah. And whichever way you evolve with intention, that's your world, bro. And the resistance I'll really tell you the part from my freeze, the deep part that I had to really taste to myself is you're just resisting. That's it. That's what we started saying is that life is always changing. You're gonna go to the bathroom. You can try not. You're gonna eat. You're gonna sleep. You're gonna do these things. Life is changing constantly without you doing anything. I don't want to get free will and illusion, but life is constantly changing without you doing it. And the thing is just you resisting it. That's what's going on. Reality is happening. Woman and man talk. If we were sitting here, oh my God, the phone, I can't believe we lost that past video, that now we're resisting reality. Yeah, we are elsewhere. And that's it, resisting. I just want to, before I ask you the last question I ask all my guests, right? I just want to put it into perspective of the fight or flight response, and how you protect yourself and the defense mechanisms. To put it all together, I think it is understanding where's your resistance coming from. And I'm going to say real G shit. Like, really, like, maybe you can't even say it out loud to somebody. Say it to yourself. Be real with it. Where is my resistance coming from? Because I think the most important part in this journey is peace. And peace changes as you change. Your highs become lows, your lows become... These things are going to maneuver. The fight or flight response will feel different as they change as well. Go through it. Don't try to go around it. Because going around it makes it bigger the next time it presents as something different. And that's from my experience, but also understanding in research that you got to be willing to go through it. And like you said, Kelly, see the other side. See the other side. See the part about, like in our reality, it's like, grass is always greener on the other side. You hear me say other side, you're saying the better, right? No, the other side is the next emotion after you stop resisting this emotion. Whatever's going on, that's the other side. Because then you can build from there. So one thing I want to ask you before we wrap up is, if you could advise somebody, right, that is currently dealing with the emotional side of their fight or flight response, where they're acknowledging and seeing their defense mechanisms, and they want to grow, what is one thing that you tell them to keep at the forefront of their mind as they move in this process for themselves?
Oh, that's a good question. Keep doing that. Keep staying in that place of wanting to know what's going on, because from that point is where you can make the change, or the changes appear to happen. You're not making the change. What's happening is, once awareness is brought to your fight or flight or freeze response, the desire for peace becomes stronger. Like, there's a natural balance to life. Life has its own intelligence and natural balance. Life doesn't want to be out of disorder and not at peace and not unhealthy. So once bring that awareness, that higher self, whatever you want to call it, to the fight, flight, freeze response. That awareness that you brought to that will want to now seek balance. So stay aware of when it arises, and then start to seek techniques. You can work on focus on your breathing, like I do. You can take medication. They have blockers. They have just anxiety reducing one day. You can do CBD. I wouldn't advise like drinking or like smoking or anything like that, because that makes you dependent on it. But you can do things, get through it, and while you get through it, stay aware of what's happening, and then continue that journey of understanding the self. Because once you understand the self and you understand what your conditioning is doing, it starts to naturally fall away, because you're taking the pressure off, and you're realizing why it's happening. You're realizing like, oh, this is me. This is my conditioning doing all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. One thing I've learned from you in this, I'll just say it. I'm going to think of 1,000 more things. It's like, just make sure, keep the awareness up, B. Keep the awareness.
Stay present as much as possible. I know it's hard, but the only thing you have to come away from this whole talk with is there is reality and there's a mind world. Stay in reality. Don't stay in the image of the mind and what you need to do and what's happening in the images and the thought. That even if they feel good, whatever. I'm just talking to the suffering person. If you're suffering, which most humans are, we attach to our thoughts. The thoughts are just that. They are like clouds that come and go. You're not thinking. You're being thought. Thoughts come. Like that's what I'm like. You're not thinking. That you're not sitting there. Oh, I'm gonna have a thought right now. No, you're being thought. Thoughts come like everything else comes. You're reality.
Conditioning.
Yes.
And
there we go. Thoughts come from your conditioning and your experiences. But that's nothing. Follow them if you want to. Good luck. Follow them up there. But yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah, this was fun.
I told you I was going to do a whole spiel at the end. Yo, I've always, since I've known you, man, I've always knew there was something very special about you.
Thank
you.
And
I'm very glad that you are in this space, and you're being intentional and willing to be in this space, because you didn't think like regular niggas, like when I met you. Like you always thought ahead. So shout outs to you, and shout outs to you taking on your journey, man, and being real with it. And I truly appreciate you coming on and sharing this space and being in this space. And I'm excited for the things that you're gonna do and the ways you're gonna teach.
That's the beautiful part about this. And I was telling the last guy that I did this, my first little interview with Spontaneous Miracles. He was on here, and he was so same way. He was so good. I'm not a person. My personality isn't one. I'll easily sleep all day. That's why I love Ash too, because that's why we bonded in college. We would sleep a whole damn day. I'm not a go-getter and get up and make a schedule and make a business. Like, it's hard for me to make things happen. I'm more of the researcher, sit back, gain the information. So we need people like you to make things happen and, bring both worlds together like this.
Both worlds together. And I am thankful that you came on here. And because this conversation went beyond what I was thinking.
I knew it was going to.
Also refreshing to hear that perspective, and to understand that, like, there's a way to move forward in all of this. There's always a way to move forward. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that joined. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. I can't go through all the names. Thank you to everyone. I really appreciate it. And like I said before, I end every conversation. And it won't be as long as it was, because if we don't get the first part, what I said in the beginning was my last conversation was a month and 2 days ago. Not that I'm counting. It will not be that long again. So until next time, everyone, have a good night.
Yes, have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.